evening, and welcome to another exciting show. And guess who got the synchronization at the beginning of the show messed up? I did. Yeah, because you saw a brief of us going. Anyway, we've got Queen Bee of Fockham, way the Spider's Web, and was due to have John Hamer on, but unfortunately, he's got a lot of things to sort out in his life. He's got a lot of problems and that, and a lot of commitments, shall we say? So he'll be on as soon as we can grab him, kicking and screaming onto the show.
Yes,
so
drag him by his ears.
That's right. So come on, John. No, but seriously, he's up to his neck in it at the moment.
Yeah. So hasn't got time.
He hasn't got time, but he's always got time for us. But but unfortunately, he really
something's got to give.
Something's got. That's it. Now we've got some this week. I've decided. I've got this Telegram thing.
Yes.
Bob. Right now, I don't trust us about Facebook.
No.
I went into all that because it's more leaking a bleeding sieve, Facebook. So with Telegram, it's a bit, yes, my phone, go away, that's it. And with Telegram, the big problem is that I can only put comments on there and people can't comment to me, which is a bit conceited, really, isn't it? So as we go, I've got to put this on there, I'll put that on there. And people can't get back. So I've decided that thank you to everybody subscribing to my Telegram channel, but I'm going to have fockhamhall.com. Now, I haven't done it yet. I'm going to do it tomorrow morning, okay? And there'll be an announcement on my Telegram channel. So everybody that's subscribed to that, they could kindly go over to that, and then they can comment. They can say things like, hello, I like this. Well, I don't like that.
That'll be good.
That's right. So I think it'd be good because it is a bit conceited. We just put in, hey, look, that's interesting. That's interesting. Oh, piss off.
Yeah.
I want people to, if they, but please don't. I ask people, they might want to put stuff from GB News on. Well, I'm not that keen on GB.
No.
To me, it's controlled opposition. Okay?
Yes.
I'm not interested in control. And also, little Tommy Tucker from Luton. I think we all know who he is.
Yes.
I don't watch controlled media at all. So, I'm sure, it's old Tommy. Yeah, very nice, but no.
Let's leave it.
Let's leave it. Right. Now, I do hope everybody is tuning in 8 o'clock last night.
Oh, yes.
And also, we've got Miles coming on soon, Dr. Fleetwood. And he'll be talking about diets and things. So that's good. And we're having a bit of thinking about a title of a future show. And I was going to call it Not to Be Scoffed At, but I don't it's not very professional, is it? Or Mouthful.
Yeah, Mouthful's pretty good, yeah.
Or basically, diet debate.
Yes, diet debate.
Diet debate. It's very posh, isn't it? Yes.
Yes.
Anyway, he's coming on soon, and we're going to have some interesting. We're going to be pushing the boundaries of technology, hopefully. Yeah, I'm thinking, what's he going to do? No, we haven't got to have a balloon with Miles hanging from it.
Yeah, Miles hanging from the bottom of it as it flies through the sky.
That's right. But what we're playing. Well, we won't tell you what we're planning, but it's in the pipeline.
Yes.
So, how's your show going, Deb? With the that was a brilliant one.
Wonderfully well. And next week's is going to be Sundays. This coming Sundays is going to be even better because I have never before seen footage of a flying cryptid. So that's all I shall say. But yes, it's going to be very interesting.
At 8 o'clock is the better time.
Yes,
because
it is.
I have to admit, 4 o'clock was a bit early.
It was just I set it at 4 in the beginning because I didn't want to tread on anybody's toes. I picked Sunday because I know there's not a lot going on a Sunday, but I didn't really look and see what was going on a Sunday. So I've had a couple of messages saying, "Oh, I miss it at 4 o'clock. I can't tune in live." And obviously you said the same. So I thought, oh well, I shall change it to 8 now. I've looked and made sure that I'm not crossing anybody else. So yes, much better.
Excellent. That's excellent. And for those of you that have very observant, have noticed my seat has changed from black to red. No, I haven't bought a new seat. I've reapplied the old one because I'm tight-fisted git. So there we go. So I prefer red to black. So there we go. So right, shall we have a quick shufty in chat, Deb?
Yes.
And then we get on with hang on, what's the name of the show? Planned. So what we got in chat? Blimey.
There's quite a few going on.
Oh, by the way, Robert, thanks for your messages. I haven't answered them yet. I'm not an ignorant sob, but I haven't had time. All right, mate. But thanks for sending the details.
Don't answer mine either, so don't feel left out, Robert.
That's right. And actually, this my new Telegram channel, which is I'll make an announcement tomorrow on my old Telegram channel, and tell people where to go. No, actually, I better reword that one. I'll tell you where to go.
Yeah, in a nice way.
Yeah, in a nice way. Yeah. So we've got a lot in tonight, haven't we?
Sorry, we have, yeah. I'm still getting rid of this cold.
Oh, I'm sorry that you still got it.
It's fine. The tinkly music didn't seem to work very well, but never mind.
Want some more tinkly music to try and help it?
I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
Sure.
I'll manage. Yes, tonight we've got Hatchy. Hello. Hi, Joe Weeks. Exploration. We've got Mike Wright. I'm scrolling down my list. We've got Ralph. Hello, Ralph. Ancient Ruby. We've got, Robert. I think I've caught up now. Yes, good. I've caught up. So welcome, everybody.
And most of the people are saying, what's happened to John? But as I say, we are his top priority, I'm pleased to say. You notice he hasn't done many shows on other channels or anything like that recently. He's got a lot of commitments, so he's really tied up. And
he's got a lot going on.
And he was hoping to come on tonight, and he said, I'm sorry, mate, I can't make it tonight. So, but he will be back. And so we've got Miles coming on. You're quite welcome, Chris. Consider me your roving London reporter. Yes, well, now you'll be able to sort of put stuff, hopefully from tomorrow, on the Telegram channel. It's going to make it better because, I realise that it just doesn't work with me just putting stuff on. People go, oh, you're boring fart. I've seen that somewhere else, That's all right? Yeah. Your microphone's off. Your microphone's off.
That was because I was coughing. I didn't want to cough.
Oh,
I was saying it's better when there's a bit of interaction.
There is. You've got to have interaction.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fochamhall.com. So I'll just put the .com at the bottom. But if you go on there now, it won't appear yet because I ain't done it yet.
Funnily enough.
But I'm going to do it tomorrow. All being well, I'm going to do it tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, so shall we start now? I can't think of anybody. It's Tom and Dick, apart from yourself, but you're getting better.
Yeah, it's going.
That's right. And what else is there? And now we go on with plans. Now, history is his story.
Yes.
And I think it was in Brighton University many, many years ago. I think they're just something that's very famous. I think it was in the 60s or 70s, where they had a lecturer, giving a lecture in the lecture theatre, and they told the students, everybody was armed with a clipboard and paper, that something was going to happen during this lecture. And what happened is, whilst this lecturer was giving this talk, a gang of chaps came on in balaclavas and all that, grabbed hold of him, took him off the stage, and another lecturer walked on and carried on. And everybody was asked to write what happened.
Right.
And everybody's view of what happened was completely different. Some people said it was a political thing, but nobody really got, said a couple of blokes came on, grabbed the lecturer and took him off. And so people said, oh no, this was a left-wing takeover because he was speaking. And all these different people
it's
get a different
interpretation.
view. And before we came on air, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about something I saw, which was 2 columns with these like stone or concrete balls on top, which was the entrance to a posh house.
Yeah.
And this was in the country. This was many years ago, and it was a winter's evening, full moonlit night, little bit of a breeze, and as the trees were sort of moving around with the breeze, as I was driving along in my car, and the road was sort of twisty, turny road, I could see what I thought were 2 knights with cloaks, bald heads, high collars. And if I'd have stopped the car and somebody said, right, what have you seen? I would have actually written down that it was 2 huge knights with cloaks and collars with these grotesque faces, because as the moonlight was shining through the trees, the branches were moving, they're going like this.
Yeah.
But when I got closer to it, it was 2 columns with these balls on the top.
At the entrance to a driveway.
That's right. There was no cloaks. There was no high collars. There was no faces.
No.
It was my imagination that was saying that there was this, because I could see something, and my imagination said, they're 2 knights.
Yeah.
They're huge. They're about 12, 13 foot high, and they've got a high collar. And it was my imagination that was building up.
Filling in the blanks.
So that's right. And as I was getting closer, I was realizing it was 2 columns. Now, this is what happens. People, now you think from an official point of view. Now, I'll give you another example. My father, he wrote a book, as you probably well know. The details are down, available on Amazon and Kindle, of course. Plug.
Yes.
But I put press releases out at the time to local newspapers, so they couldn't get it wrong, and they still got it wrong. Yeah. And my father witnessed a flying boat, an incident of a flying boat when he was in Malta during the war. Now, there's a difference between a flying boat and a seaplane. A flying boat has a hull on it, so when it lands, it's like a boat. A seaplane is a plane with 2 floats at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. Big difference. And I put a press release in, and the reporter had to put a little bit of artistic farty stuff in, and he put a Sunderland seaplane was attacked. And people that read that said, oh, this bloke couldn't have been there. He's making it up, because it was obviously a flying boat. So because that reporter made the mistake, it made my dad look like a complete plonker. Because, and I put down Sunderland flying boats. You've probably seen pictures of these flying boats. And this is the thing. And you imagine that information then has to go. Now you look at the official reportage. Official reportage, it has to go through official lines, and you've got these so-called academics who twist and turn. They weren't there. And you read these books about World War II, written by generals, they'll be completely different to books that were written by the ordinary bloke on the ground.
Yeah.
Because they saw it from miles away.
Yes.
And it was a standing joke. You know, they used to put signs up, General Montgomery, do not go beyond this point because you're 20 miles from the battlefield, you know.
Yeah.
Because they took the piss on it all. You don't hear that in the official stuff, you know. The real fact of the matter is that there's 3 versions of events. Yes. What one person saw, what another person saw, and what really happened.
Yes.
That should be like an argument. Now, for example, do you believe that the history as it's presented to us, as what it's written down, and I'm talking about modern history, just sort of happened? It kind of rolled along, and, you know, it just, these things occurred. Because I don't.
No.
I think World War II was unplanned. It was planned for later, but it was not planned to be so soon. But the World War I was definitely planned.
Yeah.
And if you look at a chap called Pike, who was a Freemason. Hang on.
Yeah.
I'm not a Freemason, but, you know, I always like to do that, you know. Who 1860s wrote 3 world wars. I think it was Alfred Pike, wasn't it?
Yes.
3 world wars. He got it spot on. Now, with World War One, officially it started in July 1914, but unofficially it started 20 years beforehand because the newspapers were all in on it because there was a hell of a lot of anti-German sentiment. So if anything went wrong, if there was a fire somewhere, they'll put down German, not extremists, but the times they used then. This was due to saboteurs, German spies was the word then. German spies of the cause of this terrible fire. Well, how do we know? We don't know. And it's like, for example, Mare Celeste. Now, Mare Celeste, the story of Mare Celeste about this ship that was left in the sea, and it's a mystery. Well, there's loads of ships found abandoned, and they were abandoned for several reasons. One, it was an insurance thing, because they made sure that the ship was a write-off, so they get the insurance money. Yeah. Sorry, you're about your sinking.
I'm doing the Mare Celeste as one of my things for not this next video, the video after.
Oh, I haven't ruined it, have I? Because it was Arthur Conan Doyle that actually the reporter on that.
Well, he wrote a story, as I've found out. He wrote a story about it that ran very, very similar to how it all transpired. But anyway, it's just that I'm doing like a bit of a mystery show, so that's come up as a mystery.
Oh. But there is also the ghost ships, isn't there?
Yes.
That were found. There's one that
Flying Dutchman.
Flying Dutchman. There was one though that made an appearance, I think, in the 1960s, and it got lost in the 1920s. It's going around the Arctic.
Yeah.
It keeps appearing.
Well, can you imagine that looming out of the gloom? Creepy.
What about you?
That's as bad as finding a submarine while you're swimming. Well, it would be to me anyway. No.
Well, there was the Twilight Zone. They did a true story once in the 50s about a U-boat that they thought there was somebody. Yeah, not going to do that one, are you?
No.
Where they could hear a spanner going bang, 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 bang against the hull.
Yeah.
And it was a ghost because there was this top-ranking Nazi bloke on board who nobody liked. And it turns out when they scrapped the submarine after the war, they found a skeleton of someone that got trapped between the air, what do you call it, and he had a spanner in his hand.
Yeah. Creepy. See, submarines creep me out anyway. Anything that's creeping about in the sea that looks like that just, if I think about that, if I'm swimming in the sea, which is only when I'm abroad, but if I'm swimming in the sea and I think about that, I have to get out. It's just one of my things.
Wow. It's like one of my favourite films.
No, I have to get out.
It was like Das Boot. Did you ever see Das Boot?
Oh, yeah.
Which is one of my favourite films. It's brilliantly done. And when it goes beneath the surface, it's just nothing. But it's lurking down there.
Yeah.
And you think how terrible it must have been for those poor sods on board those merchant ships, not knowing there's something watching. Is there going to be a torpedo? Yeah. You think, you can't imagine how. Well, I was actually told a lot of them suffer from constipation after the war, and the reason why is they were too frightened to go down because the toilets are right down in the bottom of the ship, and they didn't want to be caught short if a torpedo hit the.
Oh yeah.
But they used to cork it up. That's true. Anyway, back to the thing. 20 years before the First World War, newspapers hyped it all up. And there's a lot of anti-German propaganda at the time. So what happened was by the time 1914 came along, people were chomping at the bit to have a go at the Hun, because the Austro-Hungarian Empire at that time. So that is really the first sort of psyops that I've heard of, but I'm sure there was ones before that, psyops. But then when you look into it, the French Revolution, that it was people that we're not allowed to criticize, Rothschilds, was allegedly that was planned by them. But then as you come forward, you got the First World War, which again, it in my view, it's not a coincidence. It didn't happen by accident. It was designed to happen. But then when you look at it from another point of view, because you can look at things from different viewpoints, and you imagine if you wanted to cull a large proportion of the population of Europe, wasn't it a very efficient way of doing it?
Mm. Yeah.
And there is a theory, and it's only a theory. I'm open-minded to everything, but there is a theory that there is alien greys. That's not my theory. I'm not really into this sort of thing. Who prey on humans, corpses and things.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people that say, although I'm trying to find the meat on the bone evidence, which I haven't seen, but if anybody has got the meat on the bone evidence, I'm open-minded about it, that there was a deal done where they said, right, we'll wipe out so many million people for your, like a sacrifice to these greys. I don't believe it. I personally don't believe it at all. I think it's the shit of the bull. But it seems very, very strange that, you know, you had the Battle of Waterloo, massive battlefields with the corpses left there. You had the First World War, which there was plenty of reasons to actually have peace talks, but it didn't happen.
No.
And Henry Ford tried to force peace talks, but they didn't want to know. And it's very, very strange. I mean, he went in on a ship, and there was a ship full of industrialists and pacifists from America that was, remember, it was neutral until 1917 in the First World War, and they went across to try and do peace talks to stop the carnage in the First World War. But then America got involved because of the Lusitania. Again, that was all contrived.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, why is it these wars? I mean, it was mainly Europeans killing Europeans because we're the same race.
Yeah.
It seems a bit weird, doesn't it? There's something very odd that these psychopaths in charge seem to want to create this hell on earth. What's in their minds?
It makes you wonder. Is it this population decrease that they're always pushing?
Well, that's it. This is what I'm thinking. As I have said, that if it wasn't the First World War, there would have been a population problem in Europe by now, which I totally disagree. Because in the 30s, Germany realised we're not having enough children. And the population started to decrease in 1930s, because you think there was a huge number of males that were culled during the First World War. And they were saying that there was lots of single women that could never find a husband because there were so few men around. Yeah. And apparently they've never made up the number. There's always been a shortage of men until about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
There's always more women than men. But even saying that, in Germany, they actually wanted people. They had this idea in the 1930s that if you bought a house, you got an interest-free loan from the government, because remember, they had debt-free currency.
Yeah.
They told the banks what they could do with their usury, which we'll be talking about on a future show with Mr. Hayes will be coming on.
Yes.
So he'll be coming on in April. So it's sometime in the future. He'll be talking about debt-free currency and the Bradbury pound and things like that. So when you think about it, what they did, they had, if you had one child, you got a quarter of the loan knocked off. Okay.
Yes.
If you had 2 children, you had half. If you had 4 children, you got the house for free from the government. Wiped out. So they were trying to. They knew there was a population problem, and in the Second World War, there's barely enough men to fight the Second World War. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
But the strange thing is during wars, more males are born than females, which is another weird thing. Nobody's been able to work out why that happens.
No, that's strange.
Well, it is very, very odd. And remember, sit back, who made a fortune out of the First World War and the Second World War?
Do tell us.
Rothschild banks.
Ah, well.
Because it's in
saying, did it?
That's right, because it's in their interests to get countries into debt.
Mm.
Mind you, I think the klaxons are probably going off at YouTube HQ at the moment. So better be a bit
You
careful.
said something.
Right, so let's go into chat and we go on to the second part tonight. So, right.
We got some comments. Ruby's wanting to know, may I ask, Chris, why you do not get many guests onto the show?
It's due to my personal odour problem, actually. I haven't said this, but I actually found this new deodorant called Alon, and it's cabbage with a hint of soiled nappy.
Yes.
No, actually,
the nostrils.
It is no. Actually, the truth is, we're going to get lots of guests on. John was due to come on this week, today. Unfortunately, he came out. This is, he was due to come on, but he's got so many commitments, he couldn't come on. Yeah. Hence the reason we got no guests this week. Next week, we're hoping to get it'll either be Miles or it'll be Michelle again.
Yeah.
On. So that'll be next Monday. We're hoping to get Deborah Hatswell back again. Yes. With her big foot or two big feet. You never know.
Big feet.
We're hoping to get Andrew Johnson on as well. We're hoping to get him on, kicking and screaming. I think he may come on. I know Richard D. Hall, but I'm going to try and get Richard D. Hall on via Andrew Johnson because he's good mates with Andrew Johnson.
Yeah.
So I know that Richard, they've done, the BBC's done a hatchet job on his show.
Yeah.
So I hope to get him on soon, but it might be for our Naughty Show. Shannon will be on the Naughty Show on BitChute, talking about her book. And we're going to do a Naughty Show with Deborah Hatswell as well.
Yes.
Talking about the North Sea.
Ooh.
Remember what she said?
I can't remember what she said.
Gas. No, about not say it too much on here, but it's something rather controversial. Right. So I said, we'll reserve that for the Naughty Show.
Yeah, we'll do the Naughty Show.
On, with BitChute. So when Deborah's free. So yes, we will have more guests on in the future, but we're just having a bit of a lull of guests at the moment because at the moment what's happening is they're all going, either Tom and Dick or they've got commitments.
Yeah. It's mad.
But Roger Hayes, he is well, I've had him on as a guest before.
Yeah.
And I'm also hoping to get someone on, I can't give a name out as yet, but I'm also trying to get some connections to get someone that talks about the scientific evidence for life after death.
Mm-hmm.
Which
is good.
Well, I did a show about 12 years ago on the radio, internet radio. You can see it, on my Eric Von Essex show. If you go back about 2 or 3 years, and it was a chap called Michael Roll.
Right.
And very, very interesting. Mm-hmm. And he again put history straight. What was, what's wrong with that? What's happened with history and things like that.
Yeah.
But no, it's. I'm hoping actually he might come on again. I don't know, but that would be.
Yes, ask him.
I'll ask him. Yes. So
well, for some reason,
that's right. I mean, when I only had a couple of days to arrange this because poor old John, he's got these commitments, but we're hoping to get him on. We're hoping to get Survivalist Dave on.
Oh, yes. I love Survivalist Dave.
Hey, Survivalist Dave. He'll be surviving. And I might show him my Swiss Army knife. Woo!
I've got a knife I can show him as well. He'll probably slag me off for it, but I'll still in it.
That's not a knife now. That's a knife.
Yeah.
Actually, now I'm a bit weird like this. I kind of like Swiss Army knives. I'm putting like a kid. This. I've got a Victorinox, which is the hot one, and I've also got one which is Swiss. I can't remember the name of it, but I think they've gone out of business now. The other one, because there was
Yeah.
two, and so it might be a rare one which I've got. And I wanted to get another one for my toolkit, you see. And once upon a time,
I have. I think that's back to front, but I have
Yeah.
one of those multi-tool.
Oh, lovely!
It's got everything in it. You can pick Boy Scouts out of horses' hooves with the things on here.
Brilliant. I like those. And also, if you're a cyclist like myself, you don't leave home without one, do you?
No.
They're brilliant.
Yeah.
And
a bit of kit. You've got to be careful, mind you. That one, because that one's in a pouch, it's not so bad. But you've got to be careful carrying them around because you can be done for because of the length of the blade.
That's right. It's got to be under 3 inches, isn't it?
And it's got to be retractable or something.
That's it.
I think I'm all right with that. As it is.
You're okay with that, but you've also got to have a reason for having it. Well, if you've got a Swiss Army knife, it's not really a knife as such because it's a tool.
Yeah.
Because you've got scissors on it and things like that.
Yeah.
But what gets me is you get knives now; they're always blunt. You have to sharpen them up.
Yeah.
And but with the Swiss Army ones, my ones, I think, what is it, a sergeant one? But they you really do need the one where you can actually use it for stripping wires and things like that. Amazing what you can do with them, and the quality is really.
Yeah, they're amazing bits of kit. I used to carry that around all over with me, but it weighs a ton.
Yeah.
It's a good. I don't even know how much I'd say that weighs, but it's heavy. So of course, if I was going somewhere, I'd be taking it out of my bag and putting it back in again, and so I just didn't bother putting it back in my bag once.
Well, the good thing about Swiss Army knives is they are generally lightweight. They're not that heavy.
That's the thing.
And don't get a real biggie one. I actually get the one. They're about now. They used to be about 20 quid. They're 40 quid now. But what's got
me? They're not cheap, but you get what you pay for.
Oh, you've got to get a Victorinox one. They're brilliant.
Yeah.
But what's annoyed me, once upon a time, you could buy one, no problem. Oh, no. You've got to show ID now.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's because of idiots, isn't it? The people that want them for normal purposes have to struggle now to provide proof that they're using it for normal purposes.
Well,
idiots.
When I was a kid, I remember going into a shop. I think it's a tobacconist shop. That pen. If I can have a pen now, please. Certainly, Sonny. Here we are.
Which one do you want?
What do you want it for, Sonny? I want to slit the throat of my granny. Oh, that's okay. So that one. No. Yeah. But no, I mean, it's that was when I was 43. But no, I still got it. It's a little tiny silver one. But I can't take it out with me because you've got to have a reason having it. But with the Swiss Army knife, you can because. Patchy, I've got an original 17-inch.
Bone butcher now.
Which is in my survival bag, and an air rifle for shooting balloons out of.
That's what you need. You never know when you're being spied on.
Have you seen the Slingshot channel?
Yeah.
Now let me show you its features.
Oh, dear.
You get things that are just legal. They're just about legal, yeah. But apparently this country has the toughest firearms laws in the world. And apparently they're less strict in Germany than they are here.
Right.
Which is weird, yeah. You can sort of, as long as you've got to be a member of a club or something. But I know that with crossbows, in the Netherlands, when you take it out with you, it's got to be, I think it's got to be detachable in 5 parts. So you've got to actually, sort of put it all together. And they're very strict on that. But quite honestly, it's so easy to make one. Yeah. I can't say they could ban them. And there are people that's making these their own. I wouldn't do this though. Their own air guns, which is bloody dangerous. Yeah. And also
about with anything like that.
Have you seen the cannons that they do? They spray some air. I think it's hair lacquer or something at the back of his tin. Close it. They go. Boom. Oh
my God.
It's all right if you want to blow your head off, you know what I mean? No.
So you've got more chance of doing yourself an injury than anybody else.
That's right. Well, Robert Dora said something interesting here. in Switzerland, I'm told that one is required to undergo firearms training. That is 100% correct. Up to the age of 50, you are required, every male has got to be armed, and you are required to do training in the army. It's a form of national service. Every year, I don't know how many weeks it is. I think it's 2 to 3 weeks. But what they do is the service that you go into, if you have a hobby, they try and lean it towards a hobby or your occupation. So, for example, there was a chap, I saw a documentary about this once, who was a bird fancier. He kept pigeons and things. So he was in charge of, because in Switzerland they still send messages via birds. They do it the old-fashioned way, because they realise that in a future war, like a nuclear war, you would not have, they cut the communications off. So you communicate by using the old-fashioned methods, by using pigeons.
Yes.
And he said, I never forget this. He said, I'm the only person who's a senior rank where the lower ranks can legally shit on me. So pigeons shit on him. But things like that, and like people like mountain climbing, they go into a special regiment that does mountain climbing. There's a glider pilot. He's actually a pilot of, he's in the Air Force, and that's the way their forces are. The Swiss are actually armed to the teeth. I think it's one of the most armed countries in the world. Every house has a rifle in there, and it has the lowest crime rate in the world, because they know that if anybody breaks into a house, they're going to get, because they're trained how to use these firearms. So they're very unique like that. But the trouble is, if you go to Switzerland, and they have because they've got a Swiss Air Force, and believe it or not, even though it's landlocked, there's actually a Swiss Navy. They're on the lakes, so they do have a Navy. They have boats on the Navy. But every road going into Switzerland has actually got explosives underneath it. They can blow it at any moment's notice.
Oh, we should have that on the way into Bradford.
Yeah, good, isn't it? But the Swiss,
we went to Bradford today and we took a wrong turn. Well, we took the wrong road, and as we got to the bottom, we realised we'd done what we'd done before, so we went to turn round. And I looked up and it said, Sea Cadets, Bradford. I'm like, we're 70-odd miles from the sea. Sea Cadets.
Perhaps it meant you can see cadets. Oh, look, it's a cadet. Look, it's all people with binoculars, like bird watching. Oh, look, it's a cadet over there. Here he goes. Running along. These little places you can stay with the binoculars. Look, you can see a cadet there, But no, Switzerland's a very interesting country.
Yes, it is.
How can I explain it? I've got to be very careful. The people we're not allowed to criticise come from a certain area that was part of Russia, that is now a war-torn area. And they migrated from there, and they came to Europe and all places like that. But they are of a certain religion that we're not allowed to criticise.
Yes.
But the Swiss also come from there, because they found out with the DNA. But they became Catholic.
Yeah.
Because you notice there's a lot of cultural, and their DNA, they're very sort of like a close-knit Swiss. But as I say, any country that attacks Switzerland, certainly know it, they are absolutely neurotic. Swiss, that defending Switzerland. And because I used to work with a Swiss bloke, he was in the Swiss army, and he told me that he said that every road into Switzerland is done, they've got some explosives underneath.
So that's a good idea, as long as they don't go off like randomly.
Well, that's it. They also they actually still used pack horses as well.
Yeah.
They have mountain climbing groups. They have their army is most, as I say, that they're training. But again, I think they have a regular army, but they have this kind of part-time army as well, which is compulsory in Switzerland.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. I like that they just stay in the middle of everything. It's like, nope, not getting involved.
That's it.
If everybody did that, we wouldn't be having wars, would we?
Well, no, but I do know for a fact during World War II, they were very sympathetic to Germany. And I know this again for a fact, that damaged railway trucks were shunted over the border and would roll into Switzerland, and sometime later repaired railway trucks will be shunted over the border back to Germany, and they did that all the time. And but what happened is the Allies used to take a shortcut across Switzerland to go and bomb Germany and places like that, and they had made mistakes occasionally, and lots of Swiss got killed in aerial bombardment, especially from the Americans. And they were not too pleased about it, because they thought they were over a city in Germany when they weren't. They're actually in Switzerland, and they shouldn't have taken a shortcut. They should have gone the long way around. They were actually in Swiss airspace, but because they're Americans and they've got these big bombers and that, the Swiss Air Force, I think it was foggy that night, so they couldn't put the planes up, and it was sorry, not foggy, but it's cloudy. That's why they made the mistake. But I know the British accidentally bombed Switzerland, and the Americans bombed Switzerland as well, and also a couple of German planes accidentally went into Swiss airspace, and one of them was shot down. They were Messerschmitts, and the Swiss Air Force were armed with Messerschmitt planes, so it was Messerschmitts shooting on Messerschmitts. They shot one down. So you don't mess with the Swiss. A bit like Rambo now, the Rambo of Europe, you know.
We've got
bloody good knives.
We've got a couple of comments. There we go. One from Robert. Those we are not permitted to criticise have been asked to leave a great many countries. Coincidence? And then Ancient Ruby says, when celebs or leaders leave in numbers, there is usually something bad coming to that area.
Spot on. Spot right on.
Let us keep an eye out.
Now, there's a film that I'm not allowed to mention on this show. We're already strayed very, very close to on this already. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to show it along the bottom of the banner. It's been banned from YouTube. It's been banned from BitChute as well. Right. So, you know, and it's a bit early today. This week. I'd love to know why it keeps doing that.
You haven't got a timer in your plug, have you?
Oh, that's weird, isn't it? You know? But somebody very kindly sent me a link, and it's actually on Odyssey. Okay. Right. Now, this is what I'm not allowed to say.
Say nothing.
Okay. So that's, if you go onto Odyssey. Now, with Telegram, I will put a link tomorrow to it on my Telegram channel. I certainly wouldn't do it on Facebook. I wouldn't last very long.
Shut down.
But that is absolutely worth watching.
Yeah,
it really is. And it's. Have you seen it?
No, I don't think I have actually, but I shall do now. Now you've told me about it.
Yeah, but it was taken, as I say, it's been taken down on BitChute as well. Ooh. So it's well worth recording it and watching it. But again, I can't mention it, obviously, you know. So there it is. So, and remember, go on to my. There it is.
There it is.
And I'll put a link tomorrow morning. And it's not too early, because I'm a lazy sod. You've got to have me breakfast first, you know.
Yeah.
Got work to do, you know. So it'll be about sometime tomorrow morning. I'll put a link on there, and you got a link to the new place where we can do a two-way chat, which would be pretty good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so, definitely.
But Telegram.
Can I just interject? Did you know that Fockham has a new business that's opened?
Well, we better see that.
I think we better see.
All right, yes.
I think we better see the advert for that if Deborah can find it.
I'm very shocked.
Wait for this. Fockham's getting very busy with all these shops, and they're all just round the corner from Blair's Cottage Cafe. It's a big area around that corner. Anyway, here's the new business. Hello. Here in Fockham, we're proud to announce the opening of our English branch of Stuffed. No longer do you have to package up your beloved pet, animal, or indeed roadkill
and send it halfway across the world. No, we have a shop. Conveniently just round the corner from Blair's Cottage Cafe. Come in and browse the beautiful pets and animals we've lovingly reanimated for our trusted clients. Read the very moving testimonies in our guest book as you come and sit in our peaceful lounge area next to the air freshener. Their words of praise and admiration will guide you in the knowledge that you've come to the right place to get stuffed. Then select a pose for your chosen animal and let our skilled team take on the work. And don't worry if you don't have the full animal. We will do our best to make it look its best. Even if you only have the back end, we'll make it your back end. So come to Stuffed. You know it's the right choice.
Dealing very sensitively there with your lost animals or roadkill. So do pop in if you need anything stuffing.
So I cry with laughter. That's it, my funny bone. Especially that one sort of
rabbit. I like rabbits, but that would scare me out.
Have you seen that one on YouTube where it's serious? There's this woman, a couple of taxidermies, and they put the animals in the freezer. Yeah, we got a little skunk here, you know. It's like,
yeah.
And it's next to their pork chops and
sausages.
Oh, that's a classic, that is, now. I like that one. That's terrific. And also, there's something that happens at 8 o'clock every Sunday as well.
There is.
Shock horror.
I don't know what that is.
Hang on. Hang on, because it said 4 o'clock and it's 8 o'clock, isn't it?
I've changed it. I put a new one up.
Okay, shall we go for the new one?
It's underneath the new Stuffed advert, I think, or above it, one or the other.
Hang on. Where is it?
You got it.
No.
I've got it.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That really is. That's a terrific one. I really do like that advert.
I like the music.
That's right.
I listen to that music all day long.
Also, yeah, I'm going to do a few intros, new intros for the show.
Oh yeah.
Because I think we want the Tannhäuser again, because that was quite a popular one.
I like the marching one.
German marching one. I'll modify that.
I even downloaded that track because I love that music.
Have you heard that one called Death March? There's another one that's a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for rock, you can't beat the Germans. They really know how to do
Rammstein. Anyway.
Yes. On with the show. So what I was going to show is that World War One, we can go into this and we can look at all the evidence that it was contrived.
Yeah.
It was deliberate. And for example, the Rockefellers with Standard Oil, they made a fortune out of it. More of a fortune than they already had.
Yeah.
And of course, Britain was bankrupt at the beginning of World War One. And I won't go because we'll be covering this with Roger Hayes. And that is, we had the Bradbury pound. We had to have debt-free currency. That was set up in 1914. And then when Lloyd George, who was a chancellor in 1914, became minister in 1916, nobody knows why it was cancelled.
Yeah.
Because it was based on the efficacy of the country, and that's the only way we could afford the war. But then we had to get massive loans off the banks, and that's why we went into poverty after the First World War. Because otherwise, as the victors, this country would have been riding very, very high.
Yeah.
Been quite rich after the First World War. But it was the money grabbers that were the reason for this usury scam.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is that people in 1919 knew all about usury in those days. People don't know about it now. You go up to anybody in the street and you say, show your usury, and they go, well, what's that? New washing powder, is it? Oh,
Yeah.
hello. But the real fact of the matter is that nobody knows why Lloyd George had that change of mind. There is a theory that the banksters went to visit him, and he was, shall we say, he liked spreading his DNA around.
Oh, nice.
And there's about 100 illegitimate children because of him.
Oh,
And he-
I was busy then.
he went with he was supposed to go with his secretary to, I think it was Wales for the weekend, for dictation and government. And she was delayed on the train, and the maid was there, and he decided, and she became pregnant about 9 months afterwards. So the theory is that the banks, I've got no evidence of this whatsoever, nobody has, went to visit him and said, Mr. Lloyd George, I think the papers that we own would be very interested in your gallivanting with the ladies, wouldn't they? So we better cancel the Bradbury Pound, haven't we? That's the theory.
See, back then he wouldn't have argued, would he? He'd have panicked and thought, oh my God. Whereas these days you could wriggle out of anything with a bit of careful manipulation. But back then there was no way of doing that, was there?
That's right. I mean, look at that situation in 1962 with the what was the name? Profumo.
Yeah.
Profumo affair. Nowadays, he would have still carried his on as a government minister, wouldn't he? Wouldn't have been a problem.
Yes, I did that. Yes, let's get back on with business, and that would have been that.
That's right. But strangely enough, I worked with a chap who, because Profumo afterwards, he actually worked for the poor. He did a lot of work for the poor down at Toynbee Hall down in the East End.
Yeah.
And I knew somebody that knew him sort of on first name terms.
Yeah.
And there was an architect I knew who actually was his architect. And he used to get buildings done for the poor. He used to give his knowledge free to them. He said he really was a very nice bloke, you know. Yeah. And he used to help out with the washing up down there, apparently. He was, you know, and but with Profumo, that was blown out of all proportions. And we still do not know the real depths of that. It hasn't really, there's still a lot under lock and key because Lynn Keeler, she was a good time girl.
Yeah.
I've got another link there because there's a chap who's an electrical engineer. He actually, when he's doing an apprenticeship, he actually went to her house to do the electrics and that. And she said she was as ugly and as filthy as anything. That was a crap hole. Apparently. Yeah. You know, but when she got very ugly, I mean, she was quite attractive, I suppose, when she was younger, but she was, but it was the other girl that was the one that was really,
I can't remember her name.
No, but I was too young and I know about it. But anyway, what I was going to say is that my personal belief is that these ministers, they're put there by the usury scammers. Governments are put there. This idea of democracy is just a complete and utter joke.
Yeah.
No, it's not democracy, because any political party that says anything about usury, then that's it. Goodbye. That's the end of the political party. It's the end of the person.
Yeah.
And that's why no political party could dare mention it. But hang out. Robert says Profumo was done in for lying to the Commons, sorry, and not having an extramarital nibble.
Andy Rice Davis, yes. Thank you, Robert.
Nibble, I like that one. Something like an extramarital nibble. Yes, have a nibble, shall we? Mandy Reese, Bryce Davis. That's the one.
Thanks, Robert.
Yes. Yes. It's like Mandy Reese Davis. She actually went to the doctor with a splinter in a rather embarrassing place. And the doctor looked there and he said, "No, it's not a splinter, my dear. That's half the cabinet." Think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
dear.
there's loads of jokes about that. Winston Churchill, it's hatchy. Winston Churchill liked ladies' panties. Did he really?
Oh no, we can't mention Ted Heath. We know what he liked. He had his little friend going out cheering for him.
Yes.
Somebody who fixed
we know
it.
what he was up
Fixed
to.
it for him.
He certainly did. He certainly did.
Yes.
And
That's a
there's
naughty
also
show,
talk
I
about
think.
Arthur C. Yes, also Arthur C. Clarke.
Oh yeah.
They reckon that he lived in Sri Lanka and paid to go with little boys.
Yes, he did, apparently. It's true.
Yes. But
and the other the other one's out of prison now, isn't he? Lurking about in Thailand somewhere, probably. He better not come back to this country.
Oh, Gary Shitter. Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Gary Glitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever see that? It's on YouTube when he was on This Is Your Life.
Yes.
And you could see.
And he went.
People so nice. You go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a woman comes on. Oh yes, we got all my friends along. They were teenagers. And he's going.
Uniforms. Yeah.
Yes.
Sick.
Yes, but
that's one big rabbit hole, is that?
Oh, it is. But nobody can convince me that. I mean, look at Jimmy Savile. All right, you might be able to get away with it once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
But not the amount of years he got away with it. He was protected from high level.
Oh yeah.
And
well, look at all the people he unveiled himself with. Charles and Diana. Margaret Thatcher. Out of the bloody cabinet. Because he knew things he knew that he could get away with anything because he had information. I would love to see what his personal papers were all about.
I would, and also I wanted to know. I mean, he's dead now. They're both dead, Lizzie and Phil the Greek. Yeah. But I remember, when was it now? It must have been 10 years ago. I'm only guessing 10, 15 years ago. A woman who had researched into Phil the Greek said there's going to be a massive. Now, this was sort of about January, and she said by June, this was of that year. I can't remember what year it was. There's going to be a massive exposure of Prince Philip of what's happened. And it was all hushed up. So what he got up to, we do not know. But there was also supposed to be something to do with our latest king. I've got to be careful because he's still alive. With a servant, wasn't there?
Yes, the valet.
The valet?
The valet. Now, I watched a piece of footage. It's still on YouTube, I think, 8 years ago, of a young naked boy climbing out of a window that 2 foreign students had taken outside Buckingham Palace. Oh, the amount of people that were saying, "Oh, that's not Buckingham Palace. That's all made up because the windows aren't right. They are this, that, and the other." But you could see these girls with the camera posing for pictures, and this lad getting out of the window in the background. How can you Photoshop that?
Precisely.
Nah. It's all twisted. That's what it is.
This idea that, you know, close cousins marrying and things like that, I mean, that's just absolutely bonkers. It really is. And to me, they're just a load of genetic freaks. You know, and really, they're not, well, I am more English than they are.
Yeah.
You are as well.
Yeah.
You know, I can trace my ancestors way back in this country. Queenie couldn't. Charlie Boy can't.
No.
You know, that's the thing. But no, it's very, very weird. And that is really, I mean, for example, look at World War II. for example. Now, the Queen's uncle was
Yes.
gay.
Yes.
You heard about that one? But he was very popular with the working classes. He was a very ordinary sort of bloke. And according to Dave Starbuck, is when Hess came over in 1941 for peace talks, what happened is it was Hess, it was the Queen's uncle, and then someone else I can't remember, went in a Sunderland flying boat to Sweden, because Sweden was a neutral country where we communicated with Germany. Germany communicated via Sweden, and Britain communicated via Sweden. And they were going for peace talks in 1941, and the Sunderland flying boat that they were in actually crashed. And it was in perfect flying weather conditions. The crew were very experienced, and they found out that acid had been poured onto the ailerons and it had been tampered with.
Right.
So that's the reason it crashed, and everybody was killed on this air crash. And they reckon it was something to do with Churchill, because Churchill hated the ambassador to Sweden. He couldn't stand. He hated his guts,
Right.
and he did not want peace talks to go ahead with Germany.
Okay.
So that's the reason why he made sure that plane was sabotaged, so they never got to Sweden.
Right. Oh.
So that's and he reckons, Dave Starbuck reckoned that he went through all the reports and everything of Hess. Now the Hess that was in Spandau prison.
Yeah.
I say Spandau Valley just then, but that's a group.
Yeah.
That was in Spandau Valley, but no, he was actually a doppelganger.
Right.
And apparently he looked at the doctor's reports, and apparently Hess was injured in the First World War and had wounds that were not on the doppelganger. And this doctor knew that he was a doppelganger. And Dave Starbuck was on a train, because he used to go over to Vienna a lot, and he used to go by train a fair amount. And he was on the train, and he went to Germany a couple of times as well. I think he could speak German. And on the way back, he was with a female military guard from British military guard. That was because they used to have English or British rather guarding Hess, and then they had the French, and then they had the Germans. They had all different nationalities.
Yeah.
And she got talking to Dave Starbuck and his wife at that time, and she said, "Well, it's not Hess." And so that's what got him thinking about it. That was years ago. I think it was in about 1970 something, And this is an interesting one, Robert. I worked with a guy who was an officer in the Welsh Guards, whose last duty was guarding Hess in Spandau prison. Wow, that's interesting. Well, they reckon the reason he was done in is because they was going to actually release him, and they couldn't release him because people would realise that it wasn't the real Hess.
Right.
So he was done in, because apparently his family. This is again Dave Starbuck did this report, because he was the old style reporter. He was self-employed, so he never worked for people. And he said that his family were not allowed within so many feet of him. So when they went to visit him, they weren't allowed to touch him or go any close to him.
Right.
Weird.
Slightly.
Very strange. So Hess knew something that or the doppelganger might have done. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he reckons that Hess got killed. The real Hess got killed in 1941. So this is another sort of weird thing. It's a bit like when at Dunkirk in 1940. Why did the German army hold back when they could have actually slaughtered the British army? But they held back. Nobody knows why. It's very strange.
Very, very strange.
I mean, they had the force there. They could have done it with ease. They come around. They did a perfect military manoeuvre. I know the Luftwaffe, they didn't have air cover because the Luftwaffe was in the wrong place. They say it could have been one reason, but the British didn't really have much air cover because it's a bloody long way to Dunkirk, And Spitfire didn't have that long, or Hurricanes or something, then didn't have that long to fly over Dunkirk.
Yeah.
They get back pretty quick because they're running out of fuel, because those things drunk fuel like they're going out of business, you know, they're fighter aircraft. So there's lots of strange things, but people don't realise that this, again, what we're talking about, planned. I think the Second World War was planned, but not at the time. It was too early. They planned it for a little bit later, for the 50s, I believe. And because Mr. H, I mean, he got into power in 1933, and he was the darling of the press.
Yeah.
And until about 1930, I mean, he was Man of the Year, I think, in 1938. He was in Time magazine.
Yeah.
And Homes and Gardens, you can actually see it. I think it was 1938. They did a spread on his home in Virtusgarden.
Yes.
So these things, they don't realise that overnight. I remember my father telling me this. He became from an angel, Mr. H, to an evil entity overnight. It's like an agreement. Why did that happen? That was really strange. Why he became, and what happened? It was to get people geared up for war, because what World War II was really about was usury, because he abolished usury, and they couldn't allow a country to get away with it. So that was one of the main reasons. My attitude is, I'm not saying what's good or bad or anything like that. I wouldn't have liked to live in Germany at that time. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it would have been awful. But I'm looking at it like a fly on the wall, and I believe history, however painful or however wrong, we got to look at it from all different angles and then make up your mind. You know, it's a bit like when you go into a place and it says wet paint. How many people go, what do you mean wet?
That's me. Don't touch the animals. Deborah will touch the animals.
That's right. Well, I walked into the public lavatory the other day and it said wet paint. I thought, well, I'll try my best, but I don't know how to do that.
So you're right, and a bit of a bio.
But really, when you think about it, you know, we only given one viewpoint, and that is the Hollywood viewpoint.
Yeah.
But there are different viewpoints, and I think it's very important that you get all different viewpoints, and then sit back and say, well, yeah, I think this and I think that, and this is what angers me today. You cannot question things. You've only got this one viewpoint all the time. Yeah. And if you question it, oh, you're this, you're that, or you're a terrible person. But I think that these were like ritual sacrifices.
Yeah.
Always of the young men of the country, the youth. And it's old men sending young men to their deaths.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got, I don't think I've still got it on there. I actually found on the internet a poster from the early 50s, which said that at the age of 17, you could join the army.
Yes.
Get into action at 17.
Yeah.
And I know a chap, well, let's say, something that my father knew a chap. I was very, very young. I was only about 5 or 4 years old, who was in Korea. And he was actually brought up in an orphanage. And he went straight into the army at the age of 16.
Yeah.
And he was actually on the front line in Korea at the age of 17, just 17th birthday. So he's a kid at 17 in Korea. You know, I mean, horrendous. He didn't have any choice in the matter. That was it. He went straight out of the orphanage, straight into the army. And that's what they did in those days. You know, you didn't have a choice. You didn't have a family. So when you look at it, again, all with those that in power, all they're obsessed with is culling the population. But they found out that wars now could be a bit dangerous for them. Very dangerous for them. So that's why I think they're trying other methods.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that.
Yes. We've got a hell of a lot in chat.
We have.
We got Salaway. Now, this is interesting. Hatchy says, I think all these world leaders have doppelgangers. I hope it's the real ring piece that sits on the throne on May the 6th.
I don't watch the news, but I sometimes come into the room and it's on. And is the bun that's in charge of America was on yesterday.
Mhm.
And I looked at my husband and I went, is he pissed? He sounds like he's slurring when he's talking.
Yeah.
He can hardly string a sentence together and he looks like he's made out of plasticine.
Yes.
Now, you're not telling me that that is a real person. That is just, I don't know. It's like he's not used, whatever it is that's on that screen, he's not used to talking.
Well, also, have you seen those pictures of him when he was about 20 years ago? And now he looks a completely different person.
Yeah, he does. But they've all done that. Look at Saddam Hussein, all the different pictures of him.
Yeah.
There was, who was the other one? And because I looked up at the screen once and I said, that's not, I can't remember who it was. It was somebody very, very famous, some sort of leader or whatever. And I said, that's not them.
Oh, hang on. Was it Gaddafi of?
It could have been, yeah. They've all got walk-ins. They have all got walk-ins. And Angela's just, hello, Angela. Angela's just saying that. Osama bin Laden, that was the other one. Angela's just saying they wear masks. And Eamon's just said Osama bin Laden. Yes, that was one of them.
Well, Biden was always an empty suit, even when he was supposed to be younger, more lucid man. Well, they made a film, didn't they? Churchill had a double and actually made a film in the 50s. And his actual double during World War II acted the part of, no, sorry, not Churchill, Monty. I was Monty's double. Montgomery, because I wanted to make out that Montgomery was in the Middle East when in fact he was in this country planning D-Day. So they sent a double. And the bloke, who wasn't really much of a ringer for him, he didn't look much like him, but no, it's quite interesting. I like what Hadji said about him. It says Deborah Singleton needs his blood transfusion. Well, I always think actually that Biden looks as if he's just been dug up. And when it's especially cold morning, he looks a bit sort of, hang on, he's got a worm coming out of his mouth. Quick,
It probably needs feeding with a small child. Well, because he seems to have a little bit of a penchant for that, doesn't he?
Oh yes, he likes sniffing hair, doesn't he?
Oh God, that honestly, I couldn't believe that he suddenly became president after all that was out there. Makes me cringe as well, Ruby.
Well, did you ever see that? I mean, I'm not necessarily a Trump supporter. I don't any politicians, but you see those rallies for Trump, and an absolute fields full of people.
Yeah.
And then you see Biden, and you see about 3 or 4 people standing around.
Trying to look spread out.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously been picked, chosen. I mean,
that's exactly what I said, Ruby. Yeah.
They feed off children. Yeah. Yes. Well, I better not mention it, but something beginning with A.
Begins with A, yeah.
Yes. Like Google Chrome, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I don't like Chrome.
Chrome. No, I don't like it. But no, that's there's actually tunes about it now. I mean, it's almost becoming sort of standard thing, But I think that Biden, I mean, was it Biden becoming president speaks to what the powers that be think of that position.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, then to me, it's a clown show what we've got.
It's a joke.
Yeah. Well, when you think about it, the idea that a government runs a country, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Civil service run the country.
Yeah.
Ruling the country are the banksters. The people that pull the money strings, they that rule the country. I mean, they phone up the Prime Minister and say, jump, and the Prime Minister says, or Prime Monster says, how high?
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, the government, what it is that the banks rule countries, civil service run countries, and governments are there to rob you and I to pay off the usury scam that can never be paid off, and give a little bit of offal back just to sort of make you happy, give 10pence in the budget back to old age pensioners or something, or
generous.
Generous, that's it. This is what always makes me laugh when I was a kid. used to be the budget. Oh, you'll be 40 pence better off. Not £40, 40 pence better off.
But then make it sound like they're giving you an absolute fortune when they're taking it off you in the first place to give you it back.
That's right. I actually used to think as a child, you see these po-faced politicians and these sort of hairy-ass reporters. I used to think that everybody had been naughty and they're there to punish everybody. That's what I used to think. I mean, this is when I was a kid. And it made you think that way because it was as if, it's going to be bad. I don't get it. Surely we've got the resources. We should make the Swiss, going back to Switzerland again, look poor. I mean, this country is so rich. I mean, we should all be living in detached bungalows. And absolutely super rich.
Exactly.
I really don't get it. I mean, this idea what they've got now with these ULEZ or whatever. Luckily, I'm not in that area. I'm in Hertfordshire. But if I want to go over the M25 in future, it's going to cost me £12.50.
Yeah.
So
it just makes me laugh that everything's out in the open. It's open space. Yet they're creating these zones. Do you know what I mean? How does all this pollution just stay in that zone? It's ridiculous. It's just another way of getting more money out of us. I mean, we've been just into the outskirts of Bradford today. I don't know if because they've got that down there now, this clean air zone. I don't know if we've hit that or not. But I noticed that somebody's defaced one of the signs that says end of clean air zone or something, and they've sprayed across it.
But when you look at engine technology, for example, now, for example, a cast iron, we cannot do the quality of cast iron that Victorians did. That technology has been lost. We do not know how they did it. At skill. Now, once we stop internal combustion engines, the people will then retire, and if you're not kept in that profession, you start to get a bit rusty, and then that technology will be forgotten about, and we'll have these bloody silly electric cars whizzing around, whereas the internal combustion engine's been around for 150 odd years. We've perfected it now. I mean, it's so clean. Robert says ULEZ is all over the place. When I bought a car recently, one of the selling points was that the car was compliant. Yes, I think my smart car's compliant, but my Toyota isn't. People have been paying £8 to get into zone of Birmingham.
Ridiculous.
But what gets me to say, you could go by bike. Well, I'm a cyclist as well. I love driving, but I'm a fair weather cyclist. Do you think I'm going to, excuse my language, going to get frozen up my arse on a cold morning getting on my foot? No. I mean, I've been on a bike when it's cold, and believe me, you think if it's freezing, you do about 12 miles an hour on a bike. People say, we get warmed up when you're cycling. Bullshit. Because I live on top of a hill, so as you're going down the hill, you're not using much energy.
No.
And it's minus whatever speed you're doing, minus 12. It's hitting in your face,
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly, Deb. We have it here constantly blocked from sun and heavy, smelly fog that feels like a drug of poison. They have control on all, yet they will not win, for they tried it all. Yes. That's right. That's right. I think that we think that they've got it smugly under control. I don't think they have. I think it's fallen to bits.
Yeah.
And whatever happens, whenever you look back, the unexpected happens. That's why I'm optimistic. I don't know what it's going to be, but something unexpected will pop up. I'm positive it will. That we won't know what it is, but I think it'll be in our favour. I really do.
I hope so.
Well, I do. I mean, but what gets me is it's this all the time.
Yeah, it is.
There's always some bastard with their old hand out. I mean, what gets me, if you go down to places like Cornwall, everywhere you go, some bastard with their hand out. £5 to park here, £5 to park there, £10 to park there. It's not 40 pence. It's £5-10.
We went to Bradford last weekend. Don't go to Bradford very often because it's quite hilly, but there's somewhere I needed to go to get some wool.
Yeah.
which is up at the top bit. Anyway, we parked up there's like a multi-story car. Well, it's one level, but you go up into it like a multi-story. And it's above the market, and it was 60p an hour. In Leeds, you'd pay about £6 an hour for the same kind of parking.
Yeah.
We went last Saturday, and I went up to the machine with my purse, got my money out, looked up, 50p an hour. So it's come down 10 pence. I'm like, if they can do that in Bradford, and the car park is literally, there's about 12 cars in it. I can't believe that it's not more used, because it is kind of at the top of the hill. I know it's a bit of an hike back up to it, but it's cheap parking. Bloody hell, you could 4 hours cost you £2. Whereas, like I say, an hour in Leeds would be £6.
Well, Waltham Abbey, where Miles is a perfect example of where they just destroyed local businesses purposely. What they've done now, it used to be free parking in their car parks, and it's a rural sort of town. It's very nice there. So they put a charge in, so you have to pay for all the car parking. But at the top of the high street, there's a Tesco's and there's a Lidl. It's free parking there.
Yeah.
There's also an out of town. Well, say out of town. There's a sort of where they've got these units, sort of out of town shopping, where they've got pound lanes, home bargains, and places like that.
Yeah, like a retail park.
That's that retail park. So that's the word I was looking for. Thanks, Deb.
Yep.
That's free.
Yeah.
So what's happened? I mean, the market used to be, before they put the parking charges in, the market was really bustling. It was a market town.
Yeah.
And you used to have to queue on a Saturday to get through the high street. That's how busy it was.
Yeah.
You go there now and it's like a sort of a shitty car boot sale. I mean, it's pathetic. It really is. And you go there any day of the week now, even on a Saturday, it's like a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
They used to have a greengrocers that sold Kent cob nuts. Now you can't get Kent cob nuts anywhere. They used to sell all the local, just over from Kent, places like that. They've gone. So there's no greengrocers. As far as I know, there's no butchers there. There's no bank there. There used to be several banks. There's no banks there. And
we
it's
were
depressing.
on about this today. We were on about bakeries and things. When me and my hubby first got together in the village that he lived in then, they had a proper bakery, and you could get like I can't remember, like a bread cake, but it was the size of a steering wheel. So you could make like a big sandwich and cut it into bits. And we were on about proper bakeries and how they've disappeared. I've been into Morrison's twice in the last month. One was a Saturday morning at 9:30. Went to the bakery section where it's all supposed to be all laid out. Nothing. Not a thing baked. We went in today at 10 o'clock. Bearing in mind it's a Monday morning, 10 o'clock. Nothing. None of the bakery stuff at all on the shelves. They've been open since 7. So you're not telling me you can't produce some bread buns or bread or whatever to put out. We trailed round all over looking for bread buns. Couldn't find any. We ended up at Morrison's in Bradford, and they actually had some out. The bakery was all up and running, so I really don't know what's happening with Morrison's at all. They're not fit for purpose.
Morrison's around here. I mean, the nearest one to me is in Hoddesdon, and I'll be very blunt. It's like a bloody aircraft hangar. It lacks something. You go in there, and it's sort of, it lacks atmosphere. Something wrong about it. I don't know, but I've found that here, especially, I've found quite a few supermarkets now. The fruit is either rock hard and does not. You buy pears and you can bash a bloody nail on the wall with it. It's so hard.
When I was a kid and my mum gave me a pear, the juice used to be everywhere. I used to love them. Can't eat one now.
Well, these things were they were in my fridge for about a week and they're still bloody rock hard. So I decided to make a pear crumble with them.
Yeah.
Which, so I made a lovely pear crumble.
Dude.
And I had the 2 bob bits from it because I don't know what it was, but it must have been the chemicals that was in the bloody pears.
Yeah.
Nothing's
right anymore.
Nothing's right. And apples and things like that.
Yeah.
But I found that what happens, a pear, it'll be rock hard. Then the next day it's soft. Literally within hours.
I don't. The last lot of pears I bought never even went soft. I ended up binning them because it was like, I might as well have just gone out and bought a brick.
Yeah.
Just couldn't bite through them.
No,
And there was no flavour. Like I say,
that's
when
right.
I was a kid, my mum, we always had fruit. And pears were my favourite because your chin would be running with pear juice.
Oh,
And
I love pears, yeah.
loved it. No, you can't get pears like that now.
Well,
Unless you grow your own, probably.
What gets me, they're from the Netherlands, and they're irradiated, apparently.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're doing with all the food, innit? They're messing about with everything.
Yeah, they're absolutely messing about. But there's an interesting...
Sorry, that's just made me laugh.
What's that?
Robert's saying, I once saw someone trying to eat a wax pear. Somebody tried to bite into a wooden apple.
Well, the Borisons, the local Borisons to me, I've actually found their fruit isn't particularly good. Aldi's, they're not all that. They're very good for their special offers, but I've found
Lidl,
a lot
see.
Lidl's.
Grapes. The big
Lidl's are very good.
Grapes, they're lovely.
And I'll tell you something, you know that celery I showed the other week?
Yep. Have you sprouted?
It's sprouting like it's going. I should have brought it on, special guest. I'm going to pot it tomorrow because I put some banana water in. Because what I do, I put some bananas in some water top tip here.
Yeah.
I forgot my top tips tonight.
Tips.
It sounds disgusting, doesn't it? Show you my top tip now. And it was. I left the banana in there for a couple of weeks. Put it out. Bloody Nora! I mean, it's going. I think it's like the day of the trimmage. I'm going to have to go to a machete. Slight exaggeration, but no. And you can get, because apparently, according to Miles, I think it's leafed stuff is very, very good for you. So things like with leaves. So with the broccoli, sorry, you can't. I think you re-sprout broccoli, but what I've got is beetroot. And you get you won't get another beetroot, but you'll get the leaves.
Yes.
So you can eat the leaves, which are very, very good.
You see, I've always eaten the leaves off things like cauliflower and broccoli and what. If you've got leaves, I'll put the leaves in with the floret.
Yeah, I do everything. The only thing, I'll tell you another thing that's gone a bit weird. Brussels sprouts. Now, I like sprouts. Now, they stay sort of okay. Then they go rotten overnight. And their taste is completely different to the way they used to taste. They taste of nothing. Well, I used to love the taste of Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, I did. I went over to my friends just before Christmas, and we were doing Sunday dinner. So we always do the prep, and her husband cooks the dinner. I was peeling the sprouts, and every sprout that I peeled, I was just going through layer after layer because there was black on the inside. And
that's what I had. Yeah.
When I was younger, you used to get sprouts and you'd take the outer layer off and you were done. These, I was getting them down to the size of peas, some of them.
Exactly the same as what happened to me. And also...
And I did the same at Christmas at home. Bought a bag of sprouts, exactly the same. I was just peeling layer after layer off.
And also, they give you the doily carts as well.
Yeah.
Doily carts.
Yes.
A bit of Cockney rhyming slang there, And, but I'll tell you another one. Potatoes sprout eyes.
Yeah.
Within about a couple of days of buying them.
Yeah, they do. Yep.
Yeah. I was told I used to put mine in the fridge, but apparently you shouldn't. Apparently you don't put them
in. I know. My friend used to keep them in the fridge, but I tried that and I don't know. I don't know where the best place to keep them is. I have a big pine box under the sink that I keep all my veg in, but you can guarantee it goes off in there as well. Mushrooms, you can only have mushrooms a day before they've gone.
Oh, mushrooms. I've given up with mushrooms.
Yeah.
I really have. They say, you see, I'm very careful with foil, but they say if you wrap broccoli in foil, it'll last about a week or two in the fridge. But what I do now is I put baking paper around the broccoli and then I wrap it in foil. Yeah. I think it's just the lack of air that really does it.
Yeah, it probably is.
Robert Moore's come up with an interesting one here. Socialists make people think their life will be better, but make the overtaxed serfs a new way for kings to rule, useful idiots. Well, the thing is that it's like communism. This very strange thing is that there is a theory that, and this is going back to planned, before the Industrial Revolution, only the strongest survived. So they only survived childbirth. So it was only the fittest and the best, really. And after the Industrial Revolution, we became more clean. We became better at, shall we say, surviving birth.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not giving an opinion on this at all. I think it's good that, people that do survive birth. But isn't it strange that Karl Marx and communism started up, and we won't go into the history of Karl Marx or anything like that, because again, but 1840s, 1850s and 1860s, and it's from this kind of what I think it's Professor Dutton was saying, the mutants. We've now got people that survive childbirth that are mutants, that have got no logic as such. And that's what really communism is about. It's, I was brought up, let's put it this way. If a baboon had put up for the Labour Party, my family would have voted for it. My father was Labour. My granddad was ranked Labour, and they'd probably be turning in their graves now, listening to me speak. But I'm not political. I don't vote, so that's it. Because they're saying now, apparently, you got to take your passport or something, or ID along to vote. Makes all difference to me because I don't vote. So
no. I've just a minute while this is still on the screen. Sail Away saying bucket of dry sand is best for storing root vegetables. That's good.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's interesting. And also, talking about dry sand, this is what I want to talk to survivalist Dave about. You can actually heat sand up in the winter, and it gets hotter than water can. And if you put copper in the sand, like you have a tin of sand, that will give off heat for a phenomenally long time.
Oh,
that's something I'm looking at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
Ruby's saying as well, because I've always wondered about this. If it's seedless, it's been tampered with. Plus, you cannot ever grow your own for free from it, obviously. So they started to take the seeds out, so you can't have them.
That's right. When we look at bananas, bananas are modified because bananas in their natural state, you would often find bananas, apparently, with seeds in them.
Yeah.
So you can start more bananas. And apparently, broccoli and cauliflower are not natural. They've all been bred like that. It's from sea cow, apparently.
Right.
And they're not found in the natural state. It's just by sort of tampering and breeding in that we've got broccoli and cauliflower. Right. But it's not a natural sort of plant. And it's true what one of these gardeners was saying on the gardening program. He said, he was sitting in the garden. He said, oh, people think it's a natural garden. No, he said, most of these plants are imported from Africa, India, and all the way halfway around the world. He said, there's nothing really natural here because the natural wild plants, there's very few of them. Most of them have been, even rosemary. Rosemary comes from the Mediterranean and it was brought here by the Romans. And garlic was brought here by the Romans. They actually used to put it between their toes when they were marching to stop any infections and things like that. So all these different plants were actually introduced into this country. And there are very few native plants. The same with native animals. I think there's only 14 native mammals in this country, and in Ireland it's 7.
Yeah,
have been imported. I think the stag, the seal, they are natural. They're native of this country.
Badgers.
And badgers. That's right. Hedgehogs.
Yes.
What else was it? No, but it's quite surprising that there are that many, shall we say, indigenous animals of this country. When you think about it, dogs and cats apparently are not. The wildcat is. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Scottish wildcats. They're cute.
I'm not sure where the domestic dog came from. This is a very weird thing. Hang on, it would be, wouldn't it? Because it was a wolf. We had wolves in this country.
Yes, we did.
But I don't believe
that's just made me smile.
Baked beans for supper here when I'm playing a bag of balloons. I'm not with the news Parliament. I might get lucky.
Phil, it Fill them with something nasty so that when they explode.
Well, we were so poor. We that's how we got a bubble bath when you was a kid. Mum would give you a
Yeah.
bean, sit in the
Have
bath.
some beans. Get a bath. Red squirrel. Angela's just said red squirrel. Yes.
Yeah, oh, red squirrel, yes, because the
Grazer
graze.
imparted, and they've killed all the reds off.
That's right. They ate the food because they're such cheeky little bastards.
I mean, I've got a family of squirrels out there, but I absolutely adore squirrels. But I would love to see a red squirrel. I'm sure we had them when I was a kid. Sure, we did. Because Tufty, do you remember the Tufty Club?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was a member of the Tufty Club, and that was a red squirrel.
So nice. But that was for road safety. But when you come to think about it, squirrels haven't got a very particularly good record of road safety, have they? And I had a hedgehog. We fancy having a hedgehog as a road safety.
Yes.
Doesn't have the best record of road
They're
safety.
they're the worst ones for.
Yes,
road
right.
Oh yes, that was what I was thinking, Ruby. Well, it wasn't dog, but it was human. But yeah,
with a balloon and send them up.
they wouldn't float though, would they? You'd have to have like a little basket and some helium.
That would be sort of unidentified flying shit, wouldn't it? Because my sister once, when I was on talking turns to her, her next door neighbour had this bloody great dog that was a sort of Heinz 57 variety. You know, the sort of they look like two dogs have been in a car crash and they've welded two dogs together. It's a weird bloody thing, but it's huge. It was, and it used to break through the fence. And my sister has got a very long front garden and a long drive, and it used to go and have a big juicy shit on her lawn, and they'd clear off back into the garden and into the neighbour's garden, and their neighbours couldn't give a shit about it that their dog was shitting in their next door neighbour's garden.
That's nice.
And so my sister, she had a fear of dogs. I did as well when I was a kid. And she couldn't go out in her garden when this bleating dog was around. And because it's such a long garden, it was very difficult, to put a fence. But I think it used to jump the fence.
Right.
So you didn't want a very high fence. It wouldn't look right. So it used to jump over the fence anyway. So I has actually worked out this catapult where you could put the dog shit on there and catapult it back over the fence. And, can you imagine looking out the windows, this shit flying? Well, they've got a trebuchet. Is it a trebuchet?
Trebuchet. Yeah.
Where you sort of like the medieval one.
That would have been funny, especially if you put googly eyes on it. Googly eyes on it as it flies past your window.
That's right. Can you imagine them sitting out there in the summer? It's all cool.
Oh dear.
But no, that is the thing, isn't it? I mean, but this is what gets me about this sort of most of these people in power. Have they really been voted there? No, because they're hated so much. I mean, I do not believe that geezer in Canada has been voted in. The mayor of London, there's no way he's been voted in. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah. And we got an unelected geezer in so-called power now, hasn't he? He hasn't been voted in by anybody. And but what gets me is people still believe it's Labour, Conservative, it's this, that. I'm voting this, I'm voting that. Doesn't make a heap of the bloody difference.
No.
It's.
Oh, that's really sad.
What's that?
Wait a minute. Aunt Sally. I distinctly remember when I was a child in the 60s walking past Hampstead Heath and noticing a pile of dead red squirrels. My mum told me the government shot them because they were vermin.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And that's true. Lavender Moon Crystal says they think everything's vermin, including us.
Well, that's it. Well, this is why got to be careful what I say. Zero CARBON, because we are CARBON.
Yeah.
That's what they're talking about, basically. But was it politicians have shit coming out of their mouth every time they open it? Well, that's right. What kind of person would have a job where they're going down and mass debating in Parliament every day?
Yeah.
Be careful with my words, that they debate a lot.
Yes, debate.
Yes.
Toss it off more like, but yeah, debate.
Yeah. But I mean, what I've heard of that place is full of piss artists because they can get cheap drink And
Yeah,
there
because
was
their booze never goes up.
that's right. They reckon that most of them have pissed out their brain after the
I
day.
mean, I'm not a boozer.
No,
I'm not a boozer, but they never put duty on whiskey or whatever it is they drink, do they?
that's right. Talking about boozing, I was going to mention as a top tip tonight, but I didn't. I was a bit sort of late coming on, and that was about tonic water, because you've got to be careful because it's got quinine in it.
Yeah.
And quinine is very, very good for you.
It's
And
good
I've
for you.
noticed-
It's good for cramp, but it didn't work for me for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, I got given quinine tablets because I was getting cramp every night. I wasn't getting a decent night's sleep. And they said, oh, we'll give you some quinine tablets. They were horrendous. They made me ill. I couldn't, 2 days and I was back off them again. I couldn't stand it. Headaches, nausea.
Because was it?
So I thought tonic water. So I was drinking loads of tonic water and that didn't work either. So I stopped taking one of my tablets that when I looked up, it was the first tablet that I picked to look up. And apparently it caused cramp. So I stopped taking it and I don't have cramp very often now.
That's interesting. Also, it's lack of water.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, what I've found is that I have Himalayan rock salt, which I take.
I do.
I lick it on, and that actually stops prevents cramp. And I know that Miles is. I'll quiz him on this when he comes on the show, but he's very anti-salt, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not anti-salt.
I'm anti-ordinary table salt.
Oh, I'm anti-ordinary table salt.
Pink Himalayan salt's what I use now.
Same here. I also used to be able to get it in a pound shop. Pink Himalayan salt. The old.
Yeah. Yeah, I buy the grinders for a quid.
Yeah.
But you can actually. I don't know if you can open those grinders that I get. But yeah, buy a bag of that and then top it up.
Magnesium for cramp in legs. That's right. Magnesium is a great healer.
That's handy to know.
Yes, that is handy to know. But I used to get cramp, and I used to get something like 3 o'clock in the morning. It's like,
Sometimes it feels like your leg's being sliced open by a butcher knife. It's horrific.
That you can't actually describe the pain. It's just beyond. Do you remember that? You probably remember that show. Do you remember where that crystal lady was on?
Oh yeah, I didn't see that one.
Oh, that was about a year ago. And what happened? I'd spent all day putting. I was going to say having an erection of a fence in the garden.
Yes.
People have got filthy minds, haven't they? I don't know what it is. And I hadn't drunk very much, and all I'd had, the person I was putting the fence up for, they'd put on a fantastic meal for me. I think it was a Kit Kat.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
You didn't need a nap after you'd eaten that big thing.
Well, anyway, when I got home, I hadn't had much to drink. I hadn't had much to eat. Went on the show, and while sitting there, I kind of, I got big cramp. It's terrible. And I'm trying to sort of, but they reckon you should massage the opposite side to where the cramp is. That's what a bloke said on YouTube. One of these sports masseurs. He said, "Don't massage the cramp. Do it the opposite side. So if it's at the back, you calf of your leg, you do it on the front. You massage the wrong side, sort of thing. You said you get over it a lot better."
Oh, that's handy to know.
Yeah.
I tried everything.
But he said, because I get it sort of in the back of my leg and also down the bottom of my leg. And
I get it in the shin.
A shin, yeah. You massage the wrong side, the opposite side to where it is. But no, I've actually found that Himalayan rock salt is the best of the lot. But there's an article I was reading the other day where a bloke said he improved his eyesight with salt.
Right.
So I'd like to do a show with Miles about salt because I'm very pro salt.
I stand up on him.
Yeah. And I mean, for example, there's a few things that we disagree with. I mean, but mind you, he's very qualified. I'm not, but
yeah.
But I don't want to put words in his mouth because he might not be totally anti-salt. I mean, when I say salt, I'm the same as you. Table salt, quite honestly, I just use that for cleaning ice, and cleaning stuff. I mean, it's crap basically. But what it is good for is if you've got some very, very bird tin stains on bottom of pans, drop the old salt on there,
Yeah.
table salt, and that gets it off a tree. On glass.
Running it through your washing machine because it scrapes the pipes as it goes through.
Yes.
Obviously, with a combination of, I think it's that bleach and white vinegar.
Yes.
A little concoction and run it through your washer.
Have you got very hard water where you live?
We never did have. We were always soft water up in Yorkshire, but it's getting a bit harder now. I notice it's because you can tell with the lather that you get off your soap.
Yeah.
And the lather's not as good as it used to be.
Well, I remember here is I think it's the hardest water in the country.
Lincolnshire water was hard when I lived in Lincolnshire. Couldn't get a lather at all.
No. Oh no, you never get a lather. And you get you get used to it. The trouble is it furs up everything. Your kettle used to get furred up. I use zero water filter now, so it doesn't get furred up. But things like washing machines and that. Now this is ancient ruby. This is interesting. Was it take 1 grain of Himalayan salt in the morning under your tongue with a cup of hot water, and that helps dehydration.
Must remember that.
That's an interesting one.
Yes.
Because I got it in the summer a lot because I like cycling, and of course you do dehydrate a lot when cycling. And before people ask, no, I do not wear cyclist gear. I am a jeans and t-shirt person, you see.
Not a plaid cyclist.
No lycra. I think it should be banned for anybody over the age of 25, actually.
It should be banned for anybody over the age of 18.
Bloody hell. I saw a bloke the other day, and he had those cyclist shoes now. They're like sort of,
yeah.
They're like clown shoes.
Yeah.
And he had this lycra on. I think he bought some fruit in the supermarket and tucked it down the front of his...
A banana and 2 plums.
Yeah, that's it. And he looked bloody disgusting. He's about 300 years old, this bloke. Slightly exaggerated today. I'm thinking, you know, I mean, I think if you're going to do something, you've got to be a bit sort of, well, I don't know. You've got to be a bit smart, you know?
Yeah.
It's like the bloody cycling helmets. I tried to find one that looked like a German steel helmet, but you can't get one. That would be a bit funny. You go down the road.
Try one of them. Seriously.
Yeah, but no, I think that the things now, though, you know, they used to be a bit. I think things look more modern years ago than they do now.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of I don't know. There's no real fashion, is there?
No, there isn't.
But anyway, I think we're getting near the end of the show.
I think so.
And stay tuned because next week should be quite an exciting show if it works.
Yeah.
If what we got, our ideas that we got works. Sorry about tonight. We do apologise that John couldn't make it, John Hamer.
Yes, he sends his apologies.
I think we should have some little healing stuff towards him because he's really up to his neck in it.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot of things to sort out. So let's all get behind John and say, come on, mate, come back, you know. And he wants to come on the show, and he hasn't done a lot of shows on other places as well.
Yeah.
But we will get him on as soon as possible. We've got another load of guests lined up as well. And we're going to do a naughty show on BitChute as well.
Yes.
And remember, please go on to my Telegram channel. The link is below here because I'm going to alter it tomorrow morning. Slap wrist if I don't. So you'll be able to comment back. So you'll be able to say rude words to me like bum and
yay,
Wally, and but please don't send me links from GB News. I'm not bleeding interested in GB News.
No, we don't want to know about GB News.
No, I don't really want to know about GB News. And also little Tommy Tucker from Luton. I'm not really interested in him either. So, so anyway, we've got your show coming up on
Sunday at 8 p.m. on my YouTube channel. If you want to go to my YouTube channel, just click my name in the chat. If you're on YouTube, and it should bring it up. There's
a link below, isn't there? Here.
Yeah, I think you've put.
I always put it on every week, and also to Deborah Hatswell, and also to John's links, and also Shannon as well. That goes on every week.
They're
and
all
also
there.
by mentioning it again, Telegram channel.
Yes. Running along the screen now.
So I like to go to Facebook, but I can't just yet because I use it for advertising. Mititude, I use it like a greasy cloth.
Yes.
Facebook for me is a greasy cloth which I use to advertise this show. And
Yes.
I've also got the Fockham Hall channel on, what do they call it? I don't know, group on Facebook.
Facebook.
I post stuff on there.
Yes.
But again, I'm going more over to Telegram because I think that that is a lot safer, because it's bloody unsafe when you go on Facebook. Because, you know, as I said the other week, if you put down, I don't know, so you put down, Deb, I like plums or I don't like plums, all right?
Yeah.
Some people halfway around the bleeding world find out you don't like plums because it goes here, there, and everywhere, and they can find out in about 6 months' time because it's doing all the circuits. So with Telegram, it's a little bit more contained. It doesn't, unless somebody physically copies, pastes, and puts it somewhere else. I don't want to put people's ideas in people's minds. Then they're not going to do it, you know. I mean, but anyway, as I say, thank you for joining us. And this week we're going to be very busy preparing for possibly next week or the week after the show.
Yes.
So it's going to be quite a show coming on. So we're going to have a new style, sort of. Sort of. Still carry on the same sort of, you know, banter and that. And I'll be going to Fockham Hall this weekend.
Yes.
You're going to go to the Spider's Web as well? It's good, isn't it?
Yes, I shall be climbing about on the Spider's Web on Sunday at 8.
Oh. So thank you very much for joining us. Join us at the same time, same place, 8 o'clock. And whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh.
Do it.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Bye.